Okay, so this is a question in which the entire sentence is underlined, and a scan through the answer choices will reveal major shifts in the construction of the sentence itself. And this could end up being confusing, but honestly, I think most people who attempt this question will get to the right answer choice just by pure gut feeling. And I believe you might have done the same too. But you might have done that without understanding exactly what is wrong with the rest of the choices. Because you just felt, well, that's the right answer because it seems very straightforward. So I'll try to explain these answer choices so that you can have some major takeaways from this question. So please keep certain things in mind. Now, on the GMAT, a clear construction is preferred to an awkward one. So, awkwardness in construction is not preferred. But the problem is, to many test takers, formal constructions feel awkward. But do remember that formal constructions are what are preferred on the GMAT when compared to informal constructions. And there is also another preference rule, concision when compared to verbose constructions. So concision is preferred, verbose not. So we can keep such things in mind while we deal with any questions, but do remember that these are not priority rules, these are preference rules. Priority rules are the concepts that GMAT mainly plays with, the rules like subject verb agreement, pronouns, modifiers, and the like. So let's try to look at this question and let me see what I can highlight to you. Now, the original sentence, you can notice that it ends with the preposition by. And in English, we can end sentences with prepositions. So, for example, I can say, this is the pen I write with. Even though this is acceptable, this is mostly considered an informal construction. So, this sentence would be formally written as, this is the pen with which I write. Now, some might consider this a little more awkward and wordy, but this is the formal construction. Since the GMAT prefers formal constructions, we can understand that we cannot end sentences with prepositions nor any clauses with prepositions. So all we need to do is see if a similar construction is available elsewhere. So we know that A is wrong, and we can also notice that in C, we have this clause ending with the preposition by. So please remember, any clause or any sentence cannot end with a preposition. So we can get rid of C for this reason. Now in B, the sentence begins with estimating the expansion rate of the universe. Now if I start off my sentence with estimating, this is the usage of the verb in the ing form used as a noun. And this is called a gerund. It is totally fine to begin sentences with gerunds, and what the sentence reads is that this particular activity is difficult because there is no single yardstick by which something can be done. So the construction seems totally fine here. I'm going to hold on to B. Now if you notice in D, there is a shift in the logic because now the subject is a notoriously difficult problem. So a notoriously difficult problem is to do this because a single yardstick is lacking. There is a problem with this because we are trying to present a reason for why estimating the expansion rate is actually a difficult problem. So we're not trying to say, well, a notoriously difficult problem is this because. So it kind of creates an illogic meaning because we're saying this problem is because a single yardstick is lacking. So it's shifting the intended meaning of the sentence. But there is also another mistake here. If you notice the difference between B and D, B says there's no single yardstick by which. So this by which prepositional phrase is actually referring to the yardstick by which distances can be measured. But what we can see here is that because a single yardstick is lacking, by which. This by which is supposed to be a prepositional phrase which modifies a single yardstick, and the placement of this modifier is much better after the yardstick itself rather than the verb. So this construction is lacking in itself. So we can get rid of d delta. Now in E, well, most of the sentence is fine until we get to this position. Because by no single yardstick can all distances be measured. Now, if you notice the difference, B says there is no single yardstick by which this can be done. But E is saying by no single yardstick can this be done, which would imply that by multiple yardsticks, this can be done. Which would also imply that there are yardsticks available and we would need to use multiple yardsticks. But when I say there is no single yardstick, it actually means that there is no yardstick at all. So basically, the sentence requires the meaning that estimating this expansion rate is very difficult because there is no yardstick at all. But E would say it is notoriously difficult because we would need multiple yardsticks to measure these distances. So E's logic does not work as well. This leaves us with the right answer choice, B for Bravo.